Looks like
Do I need to start this again?
we're coming back. Okay, looks like we are back. Sorry about that. All I can think of is we lost internet long enough for it to think the stream was over, and it shut it down, and we had to start a whole new one. We live in an area of Utah that has really slow internet uploads, especially, and right now it's been really iffy with the weather. Last week we had a pretty good windstorm that knocked out most of Salt Lake and all of that region with power, and it's been a little crazy since. Today we had the power out again this morning. I was really worried that we wouldn't have the ability to do this. One time I was teaching a workshop and the power went out for the whole day, and the person wanted to still do the workshop bad enough that he went and found a buddy with a generator and brought it over, and we fired it up outside so that we could still run the black lights and continue with the personal workshop. Anyway, so we're back, and I was just getting ready to do the stars. So back in the beginning, like I said, I had no idea I was going to become a body painter, and I was just looking for anything that glowed, and Wildfire brand paint. It was a real professional fluorescent paint made for Hollywood and theme parks and stage performance type things where they want to have an invisible black light scene painted on top of their background, maybe for like a nighttime or sunset. And they flip on the black light and suddenly reveals a different version of the background. And it's not made for skin, it's really brittle, but it does work really nice for stars. It's very bright and very white. I'm just going to throw it on a lid. And I can't remember the name of this style of painting that you use this type of a brush with, but it's where you have kind of like a stencil on your wall and you're just kind of tapping. And there's natural bristle brushes, and this is a synthetic. The natural ones get soggy, and then they don't have as much spring when you try to flip it. I'm just going to get a little bit of water, and I like to
Heather,
wet the brush.
Look at this. So this is showing just what we did. It's not showing the live stream where we're at now. How do I get back to that?
Okay, so I've dipped it in water. I've squeezed out the water because I don't want it dripping, because then our stars will be too soggy and run. I'm just going to put a few drops of this paint here. Looks like it might be clogged up.
Bobby says, tried raking thumbnail over a toothbrush for the stars.
That'd probably work too. That's kind of how I started on my very first blacklight photo shoot. Had some paint and I wanted to flip it on the model's face, and all I had was a toothbrush. I have a little clog problem I got to deal with on the bottle of paint. During the summer, it gets warm in the studio and the paint dries a little bit on the lid. We had a commercial. I'm not seeing a commercial over here, but I didn't say they could put a commercial on this. Okay, I think we got that fixed. Alright, so this is just going to be a few drops here on our lid. Doesn't take a whole lot. I'm going to soak that up. Might test it a little bit on the paper. Okay, here we go. I think I want a few bigger stars. To get bigger stars, you kind of have to back up further and flip it harder, and then only the heaviest paint globs reach.
Mike lost signal for a while.
Okay, one more time here. And there we go, we got a few bigger ones. Okay, then I'm going to put that back in the water because it dries up really hard and fast. Gets all over your thumb. Okay, the next step is we've got to take care of that mountain that I was talking about, where we've got the mountain that glows just a little bit so you can still see the silhouette of the cactus and the bushes and that. So I'm going to peel off our shield and our mountain stencil. And try and do it without peeling off our other.
Heather, does it look live on yours? Okay. No, it's on. It's just really delayed, and then he has an error across his computer saying there's not enough feed.
Yeah, it's delayed, but it's good.
Okay. Yeah, mine's not.
Okay, so Mike is asking, when you do stars, do you ever try to reproduce constellations? And the answer is yes, I do, but for the past few years I haven't even, other than just doing a Milky Way in general, I haven't. But the very first couple of these scenic type body paintings that I did were specific constellations that had to do with star signs. And so I would cut out I would print out the constellation on a piece of paper, and then I'd punch out holes where the stars were so that I could mark it on the body. And I would just dip the back of the paintbrush in the paint and just dot it through the hole so I could map it out. Then I'd just kind of throw a bunch of general stars in the background, and then I'd highlight the ones that we really wanted to pop out as being the constellation. And that worked really good. I keep getting requests to do all the other star signs, and eventually I'll get around to doing them, I guess. But okay, so what I'm going to do here to get that glow that we had in front of the mountain, I'm just going to add a little bit more paint, and maybe camera 2 down a little lower. Alright, so I'm just going to lightly dust the mountain here. And just get a little bit of an orange glow on there. It's kind of representing some haze in the background.
We have Andrew Martin. He says it's a late night here in France.
Ah!
Very cool.
All right, Andy's joining us from France. Good friend. Back in 2015. Andy, by the way, he's a world famous radiologist. Worked for Philips over in the Netherlands on their X-ray machines, and he had traveled the world making sure everything was working right in different hospitals and things. And he was in the U.S. back in 2015, and so he popped in and commissioned me to do a painting, and that's when we first met. He told me at the time, hey, if you're ever over in the Netherlands, look me up. Be happy to have you stay at my place. I can show you around. I'm thinking in my head, yeah, right. What are the chances of me ever getting over there? Well, it was only a year later, I found myself doing a body painting workshop right on the border of Holland and Belgium, and it was only like 40 minutes away from where he lived, and he came and picked me up to stay the night. And, we had a good time going around visiting all these cool places and different locations where Van Gogh had painted different scenes. And now he's living on a house. Well, it's not I guess it's a house in a boat, but it's not the houseboats that people think of in the U.S. It's, a cool boat that you'd have in France. And he's retired, cruising around, touring France by boat. And he's invited me to come hang out on the boat with him. And I'm thinking, yeah, right, when am I ever going to get over to France? But it's on my list, and I'm hoping in the next year or so that we can actually make that happen. A little more glow on our mountain, just so we want to make sure these are going to show up and not just disappear.
It's a Dutch barge, he says.
Okay, cool. Dutch
Correct.
barge. I don't know the official terminology. I'm not very cultured. Okay, I'm going to go back to... That's looking pretty... I can always check it to see if it shows up. To my eyes, it looks bright enough, but on camera it might need a little more. That's another thing that I should talk about is occasionally when I'm not sure, I'll take my camera and I'll just do a test photo just to find out what it's looking like and see what the camera sees, just to see if it's gonna work for what I'm doing. It also will change the color a little bit and the contrast, and it helps to gauge whether or not it's working. Looks like that'll probably be fine for this demonstration.
Yeah. Mike says that the unpainted area did show contrast.
By the time we finish, it'll really show up. Okay, so at this point we can just peel off our stencils here.
And Andy's watching us and the Le Mans.
Ah, sweet.
24-hour race. It's very cool. And Bobby says, it sounds like a great opportunity. You should find a way to do it. And take your favorite models with you.
We tried to do it last time, hoping we'd be able to get some other side jobs going when I was going to be over there, that we could bring the team over and have a little side vacation. Now, because I didn't really glue that down tight on the edges, it's a little soft in places, but I knew that I would be going over it with a paintbrush, so I wasn't super concerned. But you can see what I'm talking about, where the skin now, next to the paint, it appears to be black, even though Chanel's skin glows just a little bit. So to finish this off, though, we would take our cake makeup. We've got some just some Wolf Black, and we'll grab a paintbrush and we'll get some water on that. If you're not a body painter familiar with this, it's kind of like watercolors that you had as a kid, where you get your paint wet and then it starts to turn into liquid. The hardest part about working the black light is working with black paint. And so I will turn on a light when I'm working with the black, just so I can see what I'm doing. But generally when I'm just here by myself with the model and not a live audience, I don't have any other lights on except for when I'm working with the black. Or if I lose something in the dark. Alright, so then we can just come in and start darkening that. And might even be able to go another quarter or another third stop brighter on that camera. And this part's really easy, but just takes time to go in and do it. Now I could have just left the cactus off if I was a real artist. I wouldn't have to put those stencils on. I could have just painted them on later. But I'm not that good of an artist. I'm just really good at hacking, coming up with ways to make it look cool without knowing what I'm doing as an artist. But one thing I did find is that when you try to paint black over this fluorescent paint, it sucks the moisture out of the paint really fast. And so even if I was a good artist, I would probably want to mask out areas that I know are going to be black, just to make it easier.
Bobby asks, he said, is wolf, but I'm not sure if he means wolf. He said, is wolf faster than using a wet Q-tip to remove the paint? Maybe water faster than using a wet Q-tip?
If our model skin was darker, that might have been a quicker way to go, just to clean up the edges where it needed to be. In fact, I'll use a damp brush to remove paint to create clouds in the sky.
He says, I see you are making it even darker than her skin.
I want it to be really, really, really black.
Oh, wolf is a brand of paint.
Yeah.
So you know what he was talking about. And then Mike, thanks for your feedback. He says that the sound has been very clean since that he got signal back, by the way.
Oh, cool. I'm also using a laptop that theoretically shouldn't be working at all. Years ago, it just suddenly stopped working, and it looked like a fried motherboard. And didn't want to spend money on replacing the motherboard when all I was really doing was wasting time watching Netflix in bed on the laptop. And so it sat on the cupboard or on the shelf for years in the case. And my daughter, my youngest daughter, just started college and had a school laptop that needed a case. So I got it out and gave her the case, and then I figured, hey, it's been a few years since I plugged this in. I wonder what would happen now. Like, it would change. I don't know why it would. But somehow it started working again. And that solved having to go buy another laptop to figure out how to do the live stream. But it could use a little tweaking to get it running smooth again. Okay. I want this to be a good painting, even though it's just going to be a demonstration. But I don't want to spend all day on it, because we got to get on to painting number 2. I'll also demonstrate how I take the picture. have crickets here in the studio.
Or frogs.
I think they're crickets.
Are they crickets? I cannot tell.
Usually I have music playing when I'm painting, but didn't know what music to pick that would work well with the live stream and copyright problems. And I'm a perfectionist, so I kind of override that sometimes and just hurry. There's really only one more step I was going to show on this demonstration, and that was just throwing in some bushes. We're almost to that point. Now for the America's Got Talent thing, there wasn't time to do this, but my model was really tan. And so as soon as I pulled off the stencil, which was just one big piece, it was instantly done. My biggest fear was that I decided not to do the show because it just scared me too much being in front of the judges and worried I'd forget my name. But if I had done the show, my biggest fear was I'd actually go on to another round and I didn't know what I'd paint next. And it's not something that would really be a Vegas show. It was just more of a way to get in front of viewers.
Mike says that the crickets go with our image.
Cool. Do the crickets come through on the mic?
Mm-hmm.
All right, for our bushes, I just have this natural sponge that it was actually a bigger chunk. I tore into smaller pieces. You can buy it at the painting department at your craft or home store. I'm going to dampen that with a little water.
They can't hear the crickets.
Guess we can add those sound effects in later.
And Bobby says I'm doing a great job of holding still, but it's not easy sometimes.
Okay, I'm just going to dab in some black paint with this textured sponge to create this effect of having some bushes.
Laleen can hear our crickets, but she's wearing AirPods, so it's picking them up. They're quiet right now. It's kind of weird.
And they heard us talking about them.
Got shy crickets.
Now, I did a Joshua tree painting a while back recently that had a similar effect with the mountain in the background, and for that one I actually continued that orange all the way down so that you could see the layers in the bushes and sagebrush, and we're not going to worry about it for this one. Guess I could have put a few more little cacti over in the sides, but you get the idea. Okay, I'm just going to get a big brush and finish up the black.
They're back on now, and I can hear them.
Now to get some more water on the cake. Got a bigger brush just to make this go quicker. You could also spray it on at this point, but with all the technical issues, I didn't have time to finish cleaning out my big sprayer. Usually I just kind of fade to black on the bum. Some girls are kind of ticklish. And if you're doing anything that is detail oriented in certain areas, it gets a little tricky with them squirming. One girl is biting her hand, trying to keep from laughing, but
Bobby's laughing. Mike asks, Heather is John's daughter, right? No. She's not.
Another good friend. Met through the bridal shop that I was doing my promotions through back in the wedding photo days. And we started out doing some of my fairy photos with Heather as the model.
It's been a lot of years.
And then I photographed her wedding. Twice. And then since I started doing the black light, I'm always needing somebody to test things out on. And she has always been a valuable asset, willing to come over and let me try things that may or may not work. I always feel bad when things don't work. I feel like, I've wasted the model's time, and things generally, you always learn something. It just might not be what you were hoping for.
But we don't view it a waste of time. We're always happy to come help create art.
You always get a few good shots regardless.
I know. He's such a perfectionist and so talented that there's rarely ever a bad shot. If so, it's because I've got some quirky look on my face or something.
And that happens with everybody. So you just have to make sure you shoot extra. Okay, so let me turn off that light. We're going to call that good for this painting and move on to our next one, but first we're going to take a picture of it and to just kind of explain the process. Looks like I also didn't have time to set up my light stands. I'm going to need 2 light stands from that corner. I'll have Heather grab those. And I'm going to turn these lights back on just for a minute, just to give us a little more light. I don't know if it'll help.
Mike says it looks great.
Thank you, Mike. And if you want to see the 90-second version that I put together for the audition, it's on my YouTube channel somewhere. Okay. Thank you. So the very first time I did a photo shoot with the black light, I didn't have a way to hold my black light, and I was trying the black light out on a family friend, and her mother and grandmother were at the photo shoot. So they were holding up my black light, and they were wearing white t-shirts. And later I was looking at the pictures and I was like, where's that light coming from on the model's face? And then I went through all the pictures and I saw a behind the scenes photo, and I realized that it was coming from their t-shirts that was glowing. And so ever since then I came up with this system of creating a light without having to plug a light in. You could totally do that, but I was trying to see how far I could push the black light with only the black light. And so I created these foam core boards with white material glued to it, and then a PVC pipe thingy that would fit on my light stand and allow me to position it in different ways. Since then, I've started to introduce some of the LED lights that you can control from your phone and change the color, and those work really well too. But there's something about this particular light that I really like.
Bobby asks, what do I do to make my hair glow so brightly? It's just blonde. Really blonde. And Lilene, I hope I'm saying that right. Lilene loves your hacking ideas, John.
Thank you. That's all I'm really good at, is asking what-if questions and experimenting, and then laying in bed at night thinking up ways to fix the problems I encounter. Oh, okay. I might have got that too close. It's going to be in our photo.
Mike says, it's so interesting how much light comes from a t-shirt material. It makes a beautiful rim light.
And then another thing I like to do is I have a little spotlight that I have on a dimmer switch that I'm going to fire up here. And it's going to make the model's hair glow even more.
He says the separation from the background really makes a difference.
All right. Now normally, if I were taking this picture for something serious, I would be right where that camera's at. But without rearranging this whole setup, I'm going to have to make do putting my camera here in between that camera and the model. I like to back up and zoom in to keep things proportioned properly and make the black background wider so I'm not seeing the foam core boards. But this will give you an idea. And I'm going to turn this off for a sec. Oh, and you know what? I don't have a card even. Yep. And I have one in my office that I was meant to bring out, but I can run and grab it quick. Thank you. Heather's coming to the rescue with a card. Is there anything important?
No. No, you don't got it.
It might work without formatting. We'll find out. She uses Nikon. I use Canon. I like them both. The right protect switch is on. If I had lots of money, I would own both. I do have some old Nikon digital. Well, actually, my very first camera in the film days back in the 80s was a Nikon. My friend and my brothers had Nikon, and I thought if I had Nikon, I could switch. I could borrow their lenses, switch stuff interchangeably with their camera systems.
Bobby says it should work without reformat.
Okay, so right now I've got this on ISO 1250, and I like to use live view mode. I've got a daytime white balance. Let me double check that. And
Mike says, yes, it will. It will create a new folder.
okay, cool. And because I'm so wide, because I'm so close, I'm still getting that that board in the shot. And we're almost there. Now in Photoshop, I always go in and totally black everything out around the model, whether it's black or not, just because I like to print on the Kodak metallic photo paper, and sometimes in the bright light it'll reveal pure black versus what you thought was black. And so I always go in and cut around the model and make it pure black anyways. I just didn't want it to intersect the model's body, just because it would make it harder to cut around her.
And from a model standpoint, it's important that they close their eyes and shut their mouth, or your teeth and your eyeballs glow purple, and it's super weird.
If they're facing the camera, in this case it won't matter, but if we were doing her front, all the smiles that you didn't see on the back of the camera when you were shooting it all show up. Even the eyes too. So you always have the eyes closed and mouth shut. Now, what I liked about using the live view for this was it allows me to pre-visualize the exposure and the color of the white balance and all of those things, and get it dialed in the way I like it before I take the picture. I also like to do the manual focus that allows me to go in super close and make sure all those stars are sharp. Working in the really low light, sometimes the autofocus has trouble, and I want to make sure there wasn't any focus issues. The only thing it needs is a little glow on the bum, and I might turn an LED light on from above. From that, I've got this this little app. Turn that on, that'll light her up. Might be too bright. Just a little hint. Okay. Looking for a piece of paper. This is the bum light. This is just a little piece of printer paper, and I'm going to put that down here to cast a little bit of blue light up. And it looks like my camera's right in the way of your view, but I generally have a little block of wood. If we had that little stool. Glad I have an assistant here. I'd have to be way more organized, thank you, if I were doing this by myself.
Heather gets a raise. And if only one of us can go to Paris, you get to go.
Okay, so as far as my camera settings, I generally will go f7.1, and looks like today at a 15th of a second, ISO 1250. Make sure everything is sharp, and I was really looking at that Sony A7S when it came out for the low light sensitivity. Thought that would work really good in the black light. I could do it without using the tripod. I could just hand hold to have more freedom. Never happened. Maybe someday. Canon just came out with that new R5 that I've decided is the ticket. And glad I didn't invest a bunch of money in another camera system. Okay, elbows out just a smidge. Maybe in a little bit now. Right about there. Okay.
Got me looking straight away? Or?
Go ahead and turn your face to the side. Okay, and looking down. There we go. Cool. And then go ahead and bring this shoulder blade in there. All right. Cool. That's probably the one. do a different exposure just to be safe in case I need to change something. Okay. Any questions on the photography? I'm going to move all this.
Andrew says it's Aquitaine, southwest of France. Mike Roberts says, I want to try my 7 III.
7 Mark III. Cool. They keep coming out with all these new cameras, and I'm like, oh, I need to go with that one. Glad I didn't get the other one. And then the other company will come out with their new camera. Oh, I'm glad I didn't get the other one because now I want that one. And I keep thinking, well, when I really need it, whatever is the current camera that's the bomb, I'll just get that one. I was going to get the Sony A7R Mark III for the Australia project. Then that got delayed. I didn't need it. And so I figured by the time the next thing actually happens, I'll have to wait and see what's available. But where I already have so many Canon accessories and lenses, it would be easier if I could just stay with Canon.
Bobby said, I wanted the D750 for its low light, but a deal for the D810 came by too good to pass up.
Oh, I just realized Heather can be switching from her laptop back there.
Get that out. I was pretty excited.
I kept wondering how the camera angle has been switching without her. I mean, I thought she's been sneaking in here and controlling it without me noticing. Okay, so I'm going to get these reflectors out of the way. Or these, I mean, they can be used as a reflector in regular photography, but for this, they are an actual light source.
Andrew says he uses a Panasonic G9 as it's light and compact for travel. Mike says, I think there is an adapter for all your Canon lenses for the new mirrorless Canon.
And I'd probably get like the workhorse lens that I use all the time, which is a 24-105. I'd probably get that one for the mirrorless, but then use all of my other lenses with an adapter because I've got the fisheyes and the telephotos and all of those that it'd just be too hard to replace them all. But if I got the one lens that was made for the mirrorless, then I'd be able to take advantage of all of the image stabilization and focusing options as well. But I really love adapters, I do. For my Sony, this camera here is a Sony A6300, and having the adapters offers a few options that I wouldn't be able to have on the other cameras, like built-in neutral densities that are variable that I can quickly change the exposure without changing my aperture or shutter speed, or other adapters that have lenses built into it to preserve the nature of the full frame sensor, even though it's a crop frame camera, and that would give you an extra stop of light. So there's all kinds of cool things you can do through adapters, and I think the mirrorless offers just a whole bunch of new possibilities, whatever brand you go with. And okay, here we go. Up next, we are going to get Heather in the hot seat, and Chanel is going to take over behind the scenes. We're going to cut to our we're going to cut away to just a picture of kind of what we're doing next while they swap out, so we don't flash anybody. So here's kind of our inspiration for our next painting. And we'll let Heather and Chanel switch places. And that reminds me, I totally forgot to put the towel in place. And if you want to grab, I got this one.
No, Chanel, I'll show you how to switch on this. Okay. It's easier.
I'm going to have to make a checklist for all of the things to remember to do before the next one.
So it'll just show the different cameras, and you can switch. You can look up there to see which one is.
Going to turn this mic off until we get it on the model.
And then you just click on it, and it'll switch over. It'll have the red box, is whichever one is.
So how do I? So I'm switching it.
And you don't need
Ready
to.
go?
You don't need to worry too much about that if you want to just concentrate on the keeping the camera positioned and
then
on.
what about when yours turns off?
It shouldn't anymore because I think I've got it set.
Okay. Yeah. And then this camera
And-
turns off now. Right.
Oh yeah. So
So we just need to. Do you just push it once?
Yep.
yeah.
Okay. And then here's these for you.
See,
If you can
perfect.
figure out that. 'Cause I.
Do you hate the bottoms completely off?
I would help.
Okay.
I mean, you could pull them down under.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
And then. So, I need to put it on camera 1 when you're ready.
And I can do all that.
Okay.
Heather was just being,
Super awesome, because she's technically
yep.
playing.
she was just seeing moments that would have been better from another camera angle, and I was
I'll try.
distracted.
As I see what I can.
Okay, is that mic on you?
Yes.
All right, turning your mic on. Okay, and here we are. We've got Heather in the hot seat, and in this case, we have a tattoo right here. I think our stencil is going to cover it up, but normally I would spray it with a little bit of a gray paint. I like gray for covering up tan lines, and this is a normal gray. I don't think I've got the bottle. Maybe I do handy. This is just Mayron brand gray body paint. Can't find it, but the thing about the gray is it comes the closest, even though it would look black on this skin, it comes the closest to skin tone under blacklight. So if I paint black on the skin and then try to put the fluorescent colors over top of the black, it'll suck some of the brightness out of the paint, and I have to put a lot more paint on. If I wanted a spot to be extra bright, I could put regular white down. But if I use gray, it has the benefit of looking like black with the ability to paint over it without it affecting the brightness. So I've got a bigger sprayer, kind of a spray gun, and I would just paint out any tan lines or cover up tattoos. But for what we're doing, I think our dock, as you could see in our picture here, we're going to paint a dock with the sunset, but I'm going to try and add a little bit of a Milky Way star scene in there too. I don't know, maybe that's going too far, but I think our dock is going to cover up the tattoos. We're not going to bother with painting over it. So I've got our dock cut out, and looks like it's just barely going to cover. Be nice if it was a little lower. Nah, that'll be fine. Okay, here we go again with the spray glue. Getting out my box. I'm going to have to go get some low-tack spray glue that's not made to be permanent. I had 4 cans of different types. Ran out of the other 3 that I really liked, and then I found this one in my mom's cupboard that had been there 20 years. I'm surprised it still works. Yeah, this is a mess. I'm just putting it around the edges, just to make sure the edges stick. I can feel it sticking to my hair. It's hard to get these to lay flat on curvy surfaces. You want to make sure your model doesn't use any lotions or anything like that prior. It won't stick at all. Okay, and looking back at our image. Oh, it's going to be basically the same process as our last one. I just might add a little bit of yellow in with the orange. This time I'm not going to cut out anything for the mountains. I'm just going to wing that when the time comes, paint it on. And a little bit of blue, stars, and try and fake a hint of a Milky Way. Okay, so we're going to start with our orange.
Andrew said, "Damn, I started coughing in sympathy." Aw, thanks, Andrew.
Thank you. From the spray glue, I'm guessing?
Yeah. And Bobby is suggesting adding a donation link to these videos.
That could help.
It gives later visitors the option as well.
It,
Thank you for that suggestion.
I'm not sure quite how to monetize this. I was thinking I could have like a general free one once a month, and then a special VIP one with special techniques specific to the viewer once a month as well. Maybe just for my Patreon people, $5 and up. Or I'm not very good at marketing. I don't know how I should do it. That's why I need a manager. But cost about $1,000 to get the switcher and all of the wiring and junk to get started. So a little bit would be nice to be able to break even. Okay, our stencil's big enough that I can use it as the test area to make sure the airbrush is performing. And now I got to remember where that horizon was above our pier or dock. Our dock is different than that one in style, just a little bit. But I want to remember where that mountain is in the distance. Alright, I'm going to turn the slide out again and we'll get started here. And remember, there's going to be a reflection in the water. Lay down a little color for that. And let's have Chanel tilt the camera up just a little. Alright, that's better. And one thing I forgot to do is, hopefully I can get into my phone with paint on my finger. I gotta turn that other light off that I had on for the photo.
Bobby said, one does not preclude the other. A link to your even PayPal address and a list of information below the video. You're plugging Iwata. Plug yourself. Thank you, Bobby.
I thought I had a link, but that's the side I'm terrible at. I gotta figure all that out, or get somebody that knows their way around the behind the scenes and take care of all those links and I think I ran out, but that's good timing because I'm ready to jump to our yellow. Now for yellow, I mean, when you buy these paints, they're very limited. Usually you have a green and a blue and kind of a weird yellowish green and an orange and a red. Sometimes you can get a few other shades or hues or whatever, but most of the time I gotta mix other paints together to get it the way I think it should look. So for my yellow, I took orange and some of this weird greenish yellow, added a little of that in until it created the yellow that I liked. And what you see in the bottle is different than what it looks like when you spray it, because you spray it out very thin and it doesn't look the same until it's really built up thick. And so you got to experiment quite a bit to find what you really like. Okay.
Bobby also suggested Patreon. Oh, and it looks like our echo just came back.
Shoot.
I'm not sure what it would have created that.
On our next stream, we might have to test out a different computer and see if it's a computer issue.
Mm-hmm.
We were going to use Heather's Apple, and we weren't able to figure out how to get the OBS streaming software to find our switcher, and so we gave up. And so we're using the PC, or we're using her Apple for controlling the switcher, but we're using the PC for streaming.
We'll get it all figured out.
Alright, just getting a little bit of our yellow in there. Might as well use it all up.
Oh, he was saying you have a link to Patreon, but not to a one-time donation.
Okay, that makes sense. I might throw in just a smidge of red. Just because it's a little darker put it on the outskirts. So I put about 4 drops of the red in the airbrush. Spraying in my garbage can. Some of this is starting to splatter. I'm gonna clean off my needle. Just gonna picking the buildup off. Okay, that's working. Probably the most important thing to remember about doing a painting in black light is having contrast. And so where we have our really dark silhouette mountain range in the background as well as the pier, it's going to be pretty dark. That will break it up and make the paint seem brighter. Right now it all looks pretty bright when you see the black next to it. Like a lot of times I'll check it with some black, and it really makes the bright stand out. Okay, I'm going to put that red away for a minute and go back to our blue. Let's see how much we got in there. I think I just ran out. I probably have too much. Gotta make that blue last because I only got this much left. It's like right here is how much I've got. I wish this was spraying out just a little heavier than it is in this airbrush. It's taking a little longer. Alright, moving on. try some more orange. First, I've got to get rid of the red. I'm just rinsing out the airbrush, throwing it in the garbage. Adding yellow or orange. I'm just going to brighten up a couple of spots. When you get really close and put in some bright lines, kind of create that cloud effect. Just trying to remember where our horizon actually is. It's probably right about there. All right. I do kind of want to demonstrate the wet brush cloud technique. Just need to find a brush that doesn't have a bunch of paint on it. I pretty much leave the black paint on the brush until I use it again. Where it's a body paint, it'll just reactivate when it gets wet, so I don't worry about rinsing it out. But then when I need a clean one, I don't always have one handy. This one might work. I'm going to get a cup for some water. And I'm just going to get all the excess water off, because if you get a paint or a water run coming down the back, it'll ruin everything. This is also how I like to rough out the scene before I commit to full-on black. And I'll use just the damp brush to go in and put in my horizon. So let me just do that right now so I remember where it's at.
So Bobby's wondering if you've moved away from all of the alcohol body paints.
I don't use the alcohol body paints very often. I haven't abandoned them. I just kind of save them for the right situation. And lately I just haven't had the right painting come along to use them. I find them harder to work with for the airbrush. I have a lot of trouble with it clogging up the airbrush quick, and then I get splatters. And so I save them for something that has to be ultra durable or waterproof, and then I'll use the alcohol base for those. But then for most of what I do, I just use water base, just because it's so much easier and doesn't give me the trouble with the airbrush that I've had with the alcohol base. For the alcohol base, I use the Pro Air brand. It has a nice appley, fruity smell. I do miss that. Okay, so I just kind of wiped away a little bit of the paint so I can see where that horizon is gonna lie, and then later I'll go in with the black and kind of figure out the rest of it. We'll probably have like some mountain here on the sides, a little bit up here, a little higher on this side. Now I can figure out where the cloud's going to be. Now one thing that I thought was cool for clouds when you're using your damp brush is when it wipes away the paint, it leaves a bright streak along the edge, kind of like a highlight, like the sun is hitting the bottom of the cloud. And I'm just going to kind of start working in some little, my hand's in front of the brush, or in front of the camera, but I'll try and
Bobby said, yes, the Graftobin alcohol is horrible for clogging. He agrees Pro Air works well, and the green apple smells great.
I need to come up with a project and do another Pro Air painting. It's been too long. I was doing this really cool effect with paint runs, and I really liked the white Pro Air for building up my first layer, and then I would spray water all over the model, and then put regular water-based black paint on top of it, and then spray water again, and it would create some cool paint run textures. I think that was probably the last thing I did with it. Okay, well anyways, that's just kind of a little hint of some clouds in the sky there. Don't know how much it's going to show through, but the next thing we really need to be thinking about is those stars, because we don't want to paint our mountain range in here until after all the stars are flipped on. So I've got to get our star brush ready again.
Bobby said, cool technique, thanks.
You betcha. For any of you photographers that have watched Creative Live, we're not up to that level yet, but we're working on it. So, one thing I like to do, don't know if you can see it, but I put black hand towels down on the stool for the model to sit on. That way I don't have to constantly disinfect the top of the stool. Not that they're contagious or anything, but just for sanitary issues, it's easier to just swap towels, and then I'll just throw them in the laundry. But I've got a big pile of those on hand. And white paint.
Mike Roberts says he loves Creative Live, and Bobby said, hard to sell transparent mountains.
Maybe this will be good practice. just in case someday I ever end up on Creative Live, I'll be a little more comfortable. But at least I wouldn't have to worry about the production side of it. Alright, getting the water off our brush, getting the paint on there, and letting it rip. Got some good ones that time. Should have thought about that a little more before I threw it on. Which way I want the Milky Way to go. I really like these really bright, bold ones we had over here, though. Okay, thinking about this, I think we might need a little more, just a little more blue down here so that the dock is going to show up. Okay, now I'm going to have to use a little bit of white for the Milky Way.
Abigail says, excellent. Heart, rose, rose. Bobby said you might consider doing a standalone class at Fabric in Orlando, possibly May 20th, or 2021.
Hopefully everything's back to normal by then. Start doing things fun again.
That would be nice.
Okay, I still got some white paint left in this airbrush from like a month ago that I never cleaned out. I'm hoping I can use it now without a problem. In the past, the hard part was just figuring out how to travel with all of this stuff. And I finally started getting that figured out this year because I thought I was going to be doing all of these cool jobs in Hawaii and different places, and then everything fell apart.
Oh, Andrew says, John, apologies, but it's getting late over here and I'm struggling to keep my eyes open, so thank you very much and I'll keep in touch.
Thanks for tuning in, Andy. And you can watch the remainder of this when we post it. Hopefully it's still recording. And have a good night.
Sweet dreams.
In the future, we'll have to figure out some different time schedules to accommodate everybody better. I get up at around noon because I'm up all night. And then people on the other side of the world, they're getting ready to go to bed.
And Andrew said, please let me know if you or any of your models are going to make it to France in the near future. You'll be more than welcome to come cruising with me on the canal. That sounds amazing.
Love to. Spend a week on the Liliane. Okay, so I don't want to get too much paint on here all at once, so I'm going to try and build this up very slowly. And camera up. Yeah, so we're right up in there. Just kind of try and throw in some brightness, through here to make it pop out like it's the Milky Way, but not try and overdo it like I've had a tendency to do on other paintings. I have a little bit of trouble getting this to come out slowly. Alright.
Janelle said thanks for the... Oh, is that you? Like there's two Chanels? Just a bit slow.
Okay. Hopefully I didn't totally botch it. The airbrush kind of exploded in the wrong spot. But now what I want to do is just add a little bit of definition with some shading. And for that I'll use some gray. All these non-glowing paints, I've had to label them because I can't tell what they are in the dark. They all look dark. So, pro tip: if you want to create a darker version of a fluorescent color, you're going to do that by introducing its same color from a non-glowing paint to darken it up rather than just adding black. Black would work, but it just wouldn't be as pretty. And then you can also mix and match. So if red and blue normally make purple or pink, you could use a non-UV blue with a UV red to get different variations and shades and hues. And alright, I'm just throwing in some dark shading through the center of this to create kind of that interstellar dust effect. Kind of has a, you know what it's supposed to be. It might not be perfect or accurate, but something like that. Now we can start working on that mountain. So for the mountain, I'm just using black again. Solid black. Need some water. Might have to turn the light on. Okay, and our close up. So I'm going to start with the horizon line, which we have established. So the question is, when we do the actual pose, where the arms are going to be up or down?
You decided up, didn't you?
If we go up, I'm going to have to change our horizon line now. Okay, so it's good to have the model pose. In the final pose, if you're painting anything that affects the horizon line that needs to be level, or a tree trunk that needs to be straight. So if we're going to do our pose with the arms up, then I need to finalize this with the arms up. So here we go. Hopefully that's somewhat level. I can hear my cat outside. It's gonna make me laugh. The cat's wishing it was in here. Okay, I'm going to do little vertical dabs along the top edge here, which would be like little trees. Moving right along. We can just keep the power on and the internet going long enough to finish this up. The wind's starting to blow outside. Okay. So looking at this picture, you can kind of see how on the right side of the horizon there's a light strip in the water. It's not like the left side where it's just a mirrored image of the mountain. You've got kind of a break. And then that could be from different water currents and wind blowing and things that affect the ripples and and causing a highlight in areas. So it doesn't have to be a pure mirrored image. It could be. In this case, we're going to try and do what we see in the picture where we break it up a little bit and leave a little streak of white below the mountain before we start the reflection on the right side. Alrighty.
Bobby says, wow, it really doesn't take much lift along the shoreline to create perspective.
And even if you do everything right, I'm always having to fix something in Photoshop to straighten out the horizon just a smidge, or anything round like a planet usually turns into an egg. And so be prepared, unless your model is going to be laying in a pose that never changes, something's not going to be perfect. Cool, I think we got it. Now on this other side, I'm just going to do the mirrored kind of image, roughly. Not worry about it too much. I'm not going to make it as sharp because it's reflecting in the water. And that's usually a little bit blurry.
It's so crazy.
To make room in the studio, I was thinking about putting some of the furniture outside. It's probably a good thing we didn't. Big storms brewing. Okay, then I'm going to show another technique for reflections that I'll use. Let me get a little more on here. With the reflections, you kind of want to pull the brush down vertically in a lot of cases. But now that I've got that crisp highlight in there, I want to just kind of fuzz it up using our airbrush along the edge. This is using the gray as a black. And I'm just going to kind of soften some of this. All right, we're still in business. Okay, and we're getting pretty close. Basically, the only thing left at this point is to peel off our stencil and add some detail to look like the boards and a little reflection off the planking of the dock. And I have never done a dock, so I'm not quite sure how I was going to do that, but I've got a few ideas.
Mike Roberts says it's all fascinating. And then Bobby said it's buffering, not a good sign, but then said, oh good, we're back. Fingers crossed.
Thanks for hanging in there, guys. All right. And this will probably make a lot more sense once we get some paint on there.
Yeah, Mike had the same issue.
Like right here, you can see some of the glue that came off on the skin, and the glue glows, so we got these little white glowy rubbery stickies in a few spots, but we're going to cover that up anyways. Sounds like it's raining. Okay. I'm going to use I'm not a real painter, so I don't even know what the names of most of these brushes are. I think it's a filbert.
Mike Roberts says to turn them into fireflies.
The glowy. We'll see if they show through. I wish we had fireflies around here.
Mm-hmm.
I saw them when I was in Pennsylvania. Pretty cool. I think I need a little more water. I'm gonna get out my black water. This is just water that I've dipped my black brush in so many times that there's a lot of black paint in the water. So it's just a really thin version. I don't like wasting the pigment. Might as well use it all.
The line, is that how you say it? I hope I'm not saying that wrong. Said worst of storms should only last 10 minutes, fingers crossed. And Bobby said, ditto, none here either.
So for the past 10 months, things have been a little slow here. So I started working at UPS in the evening, thinking I could just, do that along with everything else I was already doing, and it ended up taking a lot more of my time and energy than I thought it would. But I didn't know it was going to pretty much replace all of my income with the pandemic. But I'm hoping that here in another couple months, things will be back to normal and I can return to full-time artist status and do this more regularly for fine detail. I've never had a model shave yet. I've always felt bad asking them to do that.
I thought about it. I just don't have anyone to shave my back.
Now the reason that I've just concentrated on these, whatever they're called, the pylons or the posts sticking vertical, not the whole thing yet, is I do want some on this planking of the dock. And so I'm kind of thinking I'm going to paint gray paint on that area. So it'll look black, but I can go back and put some highlights in a little easier. But I wasn't right about the vertical posts. I just did those in black.
Yeah, it looks like Bobby's getting some buffering on and off.
And I'm just hoping that the recording that we're capturing is high enough quality that we can just repost it at the end. If it does have some major problem, we'll get that sorted out. And if we're going to start doing this regularly, I might have to go with a different internet provider and get some faster upload. Like right now we only have a max of 6 megabits. And so we're running the stream at 3. If we could get 12 megabits, and we could run it at full quality at 6. So this is the gray paint, and you can see it looks pretty dark. But when I paint on top of it with UV paint, it'll light up a lot brighter than painting on black. But I need a little card to keep from spilling over onto just to keep the paint from going where I don't want it here. Got a piece of cardboard I picked up. Ran out of paint.
Bobby asked, could you use a thread with a thinned paint, wrap around 2 fingers like floss, then touch the skin to mark the line for the planks?
Possibly. Other than it's right in the middle of the back, and because of where the spine is, it goes in like a little trench, and so that would make it tricky. If it was on one of these outer surfaces, that would probably work. And Chanel is actually a model for a painting I did a while back of a fly fisherman. And her husband's really into fly fishing. And so we were doing this little surprise for him, and we were trying to figure out how to make that fishing line, and we were thinking of things like that. But in the end, for the official fishing line, I just had to Photoshop it in because I knew I was going to mess it up.
Yeah, right after Bobby said, answer is no because of the indent of her back muscles would not let you reach in there. LOL. He beat you to it.
Do have some ideas though. Just gotta get this filled in. Pretty much need to just black that out. Need a baby wipe.
I've got one in my bag if you want. The bag that's over there.
I might be able to just use some black paints.
Over by the mirror.
I've got some here too.
Oh, okay.
These wipes?
Yeah. Yeah, you'll just want to get them a little wet.
They're not super wet, but he's got water.
Yeah. They were
There
in
you
my
go.
car and dried out.
Just got some stars that spilled over onto our dock here. See if we can wipe them off.
Bobby says that the wide view looks out of focus for him. Could be pixelization due to the low bandwidth right now, though. Yeah, it looks pretty in focus on the screen. So it could just be the bandwidth.
Whoops. Wrong button. Sorry, folks. How does that look?
Yeah, I think it's okay.
Okay. Must be the bandwidth. Alright, I'm just going to see if I can clean these stars off. If not, we'll just paint over them.
The line said they're having the same issue.
Might have to rent a space in the big city.
Just use my house. You just got Google Fiber.
Okay, so we're getting a message from YouTube saying it's not receiving enough video to maintain smooth streaming. So that's probably what's causing the fuzziness.
Mm.
And I wish I could do something about it. I really do.
Oh, it looks like Bobby said refreshing his browser fixed it.
Down here is going to be darker anyways, so I'm just using black. And then I'll use the gray up here a little higher. One thing I could probably do is just
Oh, Treasure Studios Art says, hello all. John, that looks amazing.
Ah, cool. They're joining us from Australia.
Oh, very cool.
And thank you, by the way. And they do diamond paintings. It's kind of like cross-stitch, only using the little jewels.
Oh, yeah, that is cool.
And so they've got a lot of my work on their site that is available for diamond painting.
Way cool.
I need to start doing some more work that customers will want to diamond paint.
Treasure Studios Art says, people love your art as diamond paintings.
I still need to see what one looks like finished. Been
Koi
curious.
fish would be really pretty diamond painted, I think.
That's something I've been working on. Okay, getting closer. Oh, thunder.
Oh, and Treasure Studios Art said they have tagged you in an Instagram on a finished one.
Ooh, thank you. I'll check that out. I don't get on Instagram as much as I should. I really hate it. It really irritated me that you had to use a mobile device. And I'm a desktop guy. Like everything big. I'm a big guy. I have big hands. I like using a mouse and a giant keyboard. and uploading everything from my computer where all my professional stuff lives, not having to figure out a way to get it on my phone and then send it and type in a little message on a teeny little keyboard and keep up with everything. And I didn't even have a smartphone until a year ago. So
It forces you to crop your photos.
and that was the thing in the beginning I didn't like either, where it had to be square. Now you don't have to do that anymore, at least, and I can at least respond to messages on the desktop, but I can't do the initial post on the desktop.
Treasure Studios Art says they prefer the computer too.
If it wasn't for that, I'd be on there all the time posting new things, but I just get burned out trying to keep up with all of it and feeling overwhelmed. Too many other things going on. I'll have to get a social media manager just for all of that. Alright, well, to save time I just kind of brushed in some texture, but I don't know how bright it is. It's not looking like it's very bright on the screen. To my eye I can see it, and I'll probably give it a little hint. But that'll give me a reference to maybe brush in just a slight glowy paint where we want some highlights. Okay, finishing up here. A little more black.
Mike Roberts says that he believes that changed in the last week. Bobby also dislikes Instagram too. He just puts his picture on website. The URL is so short anyone can remember it. And Mike Roberts says being able to post images via computer. Oh.
I might have to start doing stuff again then. I know I really needed to be doing it. It's just one of those things I just can't get excited about. But now this is going to help a lot. Almost there. Okay, I'm going to take some gray paint and just mix it with a little bit of white and brush in a few highlights, and then we'll take a picture. Wondering if I had a clean palette I can use. If you're working with oil paints, don't put the brush in your mouth. Probably not a good idea for this either, but at least it doesn't contain lead. And our gray. I'm a pretty quiet person, so I have a hard time remembering to keep talking. A little more white. One thing you have to be careful of is certain paints, especially in the blues and the whites, have a tendency to change brightness and color when they dry versus when they're wet. And so sometimes you need to test that out in advance and find out how different it will be between the two stages. I thought I'd created the perfect gray years ago, and 15 minutes after I put it on the model, it instantly converted into a completely different look, and it devastated me. And I didn't want to paint again. Took me 3 weeks to get back to doing it. So I can hold this up and tell that this is obviously brighter than that. I don't want to go too bright. I want to keep it kind of subtle. But I'm going to just kind of brush in some different texture. This isn't necessarily the boards, the individual planking, but could be some moisture on the dock causing a little highlight. Of course, our highlight has got some orange and stuff in there too. I should probably be putting a little bit of some pinkish color in with it. One drop of orange to warm it up. All it really needs is just some illusion of texture. Let me go in for the close-up here. What I'll do is I'll look at Pinterest and Google images, and used to look at Google Plus when it was a thing, looking for cool pictures, things that would look good in black light, work with the colors I have available, work with my skill level, and then I would just analyze everything I could about the image and figure out what I would have to do to create that look. Now I'm probably getting a little too much on here, I realize, but that might be just enough. A little subtle is all we really want. But I can always go back with my dark and blend it out. I'm going to add a little bit of a highlight on the tops of the post to give it that dimension. And I'll be posting these after I work them over, so you can really zoom in and see how it came out.
Oh, Mike Roberts says his error. He just logged into Instagram and the add button is not there.
Crud. And so many people in the current generation are used to doing everything on their phone. Maybe they're not too worried about it, but it would really help some of us out if they could just add a couple of changes. paint dried up. I'm gonna have to squirt it. Yeah, I really do need to go in with a little bit of dark. Break it up a little bit. But got this weird little mark on your skin right there that,
No, it's my birthmark.
that looks like I did something crazy with the airbrush, but
Sorry.
we can fix that later. Have you ever worked with Michael, Heather? He does a lot with the body painting groups and things in Salt Lake. So
He may have. I'm not sure. I think we're friends on Facebook.
Heather's done a few modeling sessions for some of those groups in Salt Lake with the special effects makeup.
I got to be the purple monster for the Pro Air ad.
And I'm in that catalog. So it's kind of cool. Having friends that I know in the same catalog.
Oh, maybe we're not friends.
Sure we are.
It's alright. Bobby says, FYI, looks like your close-up camera has a few hot pixels. Not a big deal, though. That's always fun.
Yeah, it's kind of old. It's an old Canon 7D. Been around a while. To my eye, it looks right, but on the screen, some of these spots are a little dark, and it makes it look strange. I don't know.
Yeah, I think it looks good.
Probably good enough. Okay, did I forget anything?
Oh, Mike also noticed the pixel. If you don't know the difference, they just look like a splattered a bit of orange.
Yep, I see
Yep.
2 of them at least, 3. Alright, let's see, arms up. And okay, so let me check it with the camera at this point. That's always a good idea. Find out where we're at. The Milky Way is a little crazy, but
Fix it in post.
so I'll take a picture and I'll analyze it, see what I need to do. Probably should have made my dock a little darker. Another thing I can do is I could extend some of the brightness on the sides of the Milky Way just to soften so it doesn't jump out so much. Arms up. It might also be a little bit of a reflection down here.
Bobby says, I didn't notice at the time. When did Heather pick up the paint on her arms?
Must have been when we threw the stars on.
Yeah, this is when we did the stars.
Okay, almost there. Just a smidge more with the gray. Just going to kind of throw in a little bit of a reflection of the Milky Way texture down here in the water. Not much. Maybe a little more through here. Good enough? Yeah, our pier is starting to glow a little more now that that's dried. So one thing we could do is just kind of hit it with some gray. Don't even know if that's doing anything, but good enough. I can fix it in the exposure later. In Photoshop, darken it up. And Putting the cap back on my black water so I don't knock it over by accident. Spill it. Make sure all my caps are on my paint. The only brush I worry about keeping wet is the one that had that white wildfire paint on there, because it'll dry permanent. And now we'll go back to the same setup we did before with the light panels. This painting's a lot brighter, it seems. I'll have to use a different exposure on the camera. Might have to get wireless mics so I can wander around. The viewer can't see it, but we've got another TV screen over here, so the model and I can see what you're seeing. But when I set this up, it's blocking the view. Alright. I'm just back here by the camera, checking it out here. I'm going to turn on that LED light. There we go. And just a little bit of paint right here. This ended up being way more complicated than I thought it was going to be, and way more difficult than all the YouTube videos made it seem. Figured we had to start somewhere, though. Couldn't put it off forever.
Yeah. Next time I'll go smoother.
Alright. So from my camera angle, that thing is just barely in the way.
You want the backlight on?
And I do. Got to tiptoe around with this mic cable. Not trip over anything. Okay, so then we got our backlight there, and with the arms up, that's still a problem with that one panel. It's probably fine to leave that camera off. the old 70, I couldn't figure out how to keep it from timing out. Arm up again. I can't tell from my camera. I'm just looking at that little. I think it's good. Okay, we're good. How to get that panel out of the way. Actually, just for fun, we could try this. I'm going to go to the dead camera
Sorry.
and wake it up and see if I can find my camera. So you can kind of see what I'm seeing. Make it a little darker there. All right. Okay, same exposure, although I'm going to try a darker. Yeah, I think I'm going to go to a 25th of a second because this one's a little brighter.
Instant battery anxiety.
And then checking our focus. And 1, 2, 3. And looking down a little bit. And my arm's in the way, sorry viewers. 1, 2, 3. And I'll go back to the regular view. Okay. And gotta recompose just a little to get that elbow in. That was the other elbow, but that's all right. 1, 2, 3. For a few years, I'd take a picture and I'd zoom in to see if it was sharp, and all the stars looked like Cheerios. And I thought my camera was having focus problems. And I was so depressed. And then I just found out it was just my eyes. And it's sad, but I was relieved that it wasn't my camera malfunctioning. I had to get some trifocals so I could see those close-up. I really like that last one.
That one.
And bring the left hand up a little higher. Okay. And you're going to have to shift your middle just a little to the right. There we go. Kind of skewed the dock. Now go for a real messy hairdo.
You're real messy.
Yeah. If you go real messy, it'll catch a lot of the light.
Like mostly down?
So kind of up, but just exploding out of the top of your head. All over, so that like a firework.
I see. I don't know if I can do that. That? I can't see what I'm doing.
Yeah, something like that. And then what I'll do is I'll turn up our brightness on the background light.
Shift your torso grade again. Not quite so much. There you go.
Okay, and then the left hand up higher on top. There we go. And drop your right shoulder just a ½ inch. Okay, so we can see the face better. And I'm going to turn down our backlight just to See what kind of a mood it creates. Okay, and let's try one more variation.
Okay. I'm just all hair down. But I don't know what you want to do with the arms.
Let's try that. Alright, and see if we get a little bit more face. Maybe if the hair was all to the one side. One, two, three. And we'll turn up our backlight a little. All right, cool. Okay.
Bobby says, at one point I thought they were using a smaller font in newspaper to have fewer pages, same issue. Mike Roberts, I just posted on Chanel from the time I was able to watch your work on Instagram from my desktop computer. The link above explains how.
Cool, thank you.
Yeah. Lean to the left she did, made it look like the sun was coming from around her side. Model tip, try to discourage makeup that contains sunblock because it glows purple. And Bobby, look at the video.
And one thing to point out is the camera that everybody's watching from is at a slightly different angle than the one that was taking the picture. So it's going to look a little different from the lighting and everything than what the actual photo was seeing. I wish if I had a newer camera that could handle the live feed out of the camera without a big delay, I would just pump that straight to the switcher so you could see exactly what the actual camera taking the picture is looking like. But until I get a new camera, that'll have to wait. This one, it just has a huge delay. The Sony's fine, but I'm using the Sony for something else. So, cool. All right, any last minute questions? And if I didn't cover everything, post some questions for the next live broadcast. Thank you so much for joining us today and for sticking with us and all of the technical issues and problems and crazy weather and all that fun stuff. And it's nice to finally have it over. I've been stressing all week and didn't get any sleep last night, and I can finally get some sleep tonight and relax and have a couple of weeks to figure out all the problems, and we'll do this again. Signing off. Fade to black. Okay.
I think that's the most you've ever spoken in your life.
Right?
Turn off our mics here.